Of course, we open up and we create chances. We risk a little bit. They had one or two good chances as well, but it was an end-to-end game. The first half, we didn't move the ball quick enough. So, but early on in the season, we've been very, very good in the first half and been one up many games. So it's something we have to deal with and have to sort out quickly.
We go into every game, especially at Old Trafford, wanting the 3 points, and it wasn't to be. We drew 2-all, got ourselves in another great position, 2-1, and we conceded a sloppy goal really from a set play. It's been our downfall really, and we've got to pick ourselves up and go again for a big game on Wednesday.
It is a young team, but it can't be an excuse because we are Man United, and but these boys will learn. We'll just have to string 2 or 3 or 4 games together because we haven't had the consistency, and as soon as they get that, we'll see them grow, and then confidence will be higher.
Well, he talks about stringing some wins together, but it's not quite happening for them. Back-to-back draws against newly promoted sides. Those are not the results that Manchester United were looking for. Not
the results, but not the performances as well, seems. They had 7 or 8 minutes against Sheffield United, that was it. So that sort of clouded how bad they were in that game, and they're not starting games well. Aston Villa at half-time could have been 2 or 3-0 up easily. United had nothing about them. They're a home side. They should have been on the front foot. They should have been closing them down. Without the ball, they look a little bit lost. And they're almost waiting to try and react. The reactive, they're waiting until they go 1 or 2-0 down, then they react. And then the reaction is there because that's what happens. But it's easy to play when you're 1 or 2-0 down. It sounds a little bit silly, but it's not. When you're down, it's almost like you take the shackles off and you start playing. You've got to do that from minute one. You're playing for Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And at the moment, you can see, and Ollie's absolutely right, you can see they're a fantastic young side. They haven't got the maturity just yet, which will come. I don't think the experienced players are lending enough of a hand to the youngsters. But when you watch them, you just feel as though they are really struggling. When confidence hits, it's an awful place to be. We've all been there as players. When you've got no confidence, you can't play your natural game. What's missing, Tim?
Quality. Experience, leaders, an identity of how they play. How do Man United play? I mean, I say it time and time again. No one knows now. We all used to know how Manchester United play. I mean, let's take their team today. Williams, Wan-Bissaka, do they play forward? Do they try and push the opposition's wide men back? Don't know. Sometimes they decide to go forward, sometimes they don't. The midfield spread across the park. We talk Wan-Mata, Pereira, Fred. How are they ever going to control a football match? They lack stature, they lack personality. Their only threat is the 3 players up front. Rashford, Martial, average today, even poor. And Daniel James, who's been fantastic since he's come to the football club. He didn't have his best game today either. Where's the superstars? Where's the players you look at in the tunnel and you think, he's a Man United player, he's got the swagger. Paul Pogba's got that, yeah? But sometimes, and looks like now, I'm not sure he wants to play for Manchester United Football Club. They need leaders. Years ago, we saw, I know everyone says, we hark back to this all the time. We know a Man United identity. The players knew the identity, and the younger players were helped out by the experienced guys who used to say, this is Man United, this is how we do things on and off the pitch. Follow suit. If you don't, leave. They haven't got that. There's no leadership there. He needs help in the recruitment department. He needs to find people who are Manchester United players. At the moment, there's too many of them. This is an average Man United team, and I'm not sure it's going to get any better in the near distance.
I think the trouble is, when you look at the front 3, they are exceptional players, but the midfield players behind them can't control the game. So it's almost like they've got to play counter-attacking football, which then Manchester United's good. You know, one of the players that I can't rely on, I'm pretty sure Ollie can't rely on neither, is Martial. Now, he's got all the talent in the world. He's an unbelievable player, Simo, but you don't know which Martial's going to turn up. He didn't fancy it against Bournemouth a couple of weeks ago in the driving rain. You know, he's the type of player that you want to get inside of his head, you want to have a chat with, and you want to sort of get to know his personality, because when you look at him and you look at his attributes, he could be one of the best players that we've seen for a long time in the Premier League. But he's not reliable, he's not consistent enough. If there was anyone that could maybe help bring that out of him, surely it would be the manager. Surely Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who's been there before, played for Manchester United. But at the same time, seems though, as a player, you know, you can only go through a certain amount of managers before you stop, stand still, look in the mirror and say, right, is it me? Am I doing enough? And I think, I'm not sure what answer we get from Martial. That's the problem. If you're asking me and Tim, and we were on a bad run of form, we'd obviously give you the honest answer because with that type of sort of personality. Well, Martial, he's very, very laid back. And I'm not blaming the whole thing on him. He's just one player that I look at thinking, you could do so much better with your talent. You're sort of wasting the talent. With Rashford, you can see the attitudes there. You can see he's got the personality. You can see when he's playing, he wants to make things happen. It's sort of when you watch Martial, you sort of, you could watch a game of football and for half an hour you could go, is Martial still playing? I've not seen him for a long time. With Rashford, you know he's constantly trying. You learn more of the players you play with, the experienced players, than you ever do from the coaches we've had. Certainly I did in my career. I learned from the experienced players. When I was a kid, got the opportunity to play, I learned. I learned by looking, and also they used to pull me to one side and say, don't do this, you need to do this. You learn more on the pitch, in the environment, than you ever do from a manager from the sidelines. It's difficult for Ollie at the moment. He's been dealt not a great hand. But I think he's created that also. How can Man United leave yourself without a number 9? We saw how devastating Lukaku's been in the Champions League and what he's done over at Inter. Keep him at your football club until you get a replacement, because they haven't got a replacement. So that's the thing as well. When me and Tim were growing up, and Tim could rattle off legends like probably I could when I was at Liverpool, and I was the same age as these boys, trying to force my way into the side. And you look at people like Mark Wright, you look at people like John Barnes, Ian Rush, Steve McMahon, Ronnie Whelan, and the list goes on. Yeah. These guys were helping us youngsters, even though we were the sort of future at the club, and these probably were, them boys were having their last years at the football club. They were still willing to help you on because you're all part of the same team. Yeah, or Man United, who relate to them. And look at the legends they've had down the years, the Roy Keanes and the Nevilles and the Scholes and the guys who Bruce Pallister, and the Beckhams. But who do they learn from? They learn from the Cantonars and the Robsons and the Bruces. And it's an institution. You learn from the guys who are there. That at the moment, them kids can't look up to anyone and say, is this how we do it? Or they're not being told, this is how Man United do their things. They're having to learn on their feet. It's a difficult situation. The oldest player that scored for Man U this season is Victor Lindelof, 25. So it shows that they need the experienced players to step up and help these youngsters.
So what next for Ollie then?
It's a good question. I don't think he's under threat just yet because of the job he's trying to do. When you look at his win percentage, it's obviously staggeringly low. You know, when you think of Pochettino got sacked with 55 and Unai Emery at 49, that is incredibly low. And that would be a worry if you're Ollie or the board looking at those numbers. I can see what he's trying to do. I really can. And if you're asking me, will Ollie be the man that gets Man United back to the very top? The answer is probably no. But he's doing, it doesn't look like it in those stats, but I think he's doing enough that he could possibly do. Now, if they do pull the trigger, there's bigger and better managers out there than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You know, people like Max Allegri and Pochettino. I heard that Pochettino got offered the Bayern Munich job about 10 days ago, and Pochettino said, thank you, but no thanks. He wants to wait till the summer. So unless the board at Man U are going to try and convince Pochettino to take the job, which is a great job to take, one of the biggest jobs to take, that would be probably the best move to make. In the meantime, I just think they might try and stick with Ollie because I can see what he's trying to do with a crop of exceptionally young players. Well, the numbers certainly in that table didn't make great reading, did they? Well, let's move on and talk about another game that happened today. And this was between two teams that are certainly...
Sometimes where to start after a match like that, but the result, how pleased can you be with taking a point from here?
Yeah, of course we're delighted. Every point in this league is a tough point and a well-deserved point, but we look back at the goals we conceded, a couple of mistakes in there that we'll probably be disappointed with. On the balance of play, though, they had a few chances, we had a few chances, so at the end of the game we're satisfied with the point, I think, yeah.
To be slightly disappointed with the point then, what does that say about your afternoon's work here and the work that you've done this season in the Premier League as well?
It probably should have been better. Like I said, a few mistakes in the build-up to the goal. First goal, second goal was a poor one to concede for us. So probably that we need to be better. Yeah, they're a team that are in and around us in the league, whether they stay there or not. But obviously, the stature of the club always to come here and win would have been a big scout. But we're satisfied with the point for sure.
Can I ask you about your goal as well? What was your view of the situation? Did you think you were offside?
Nah, I thought I was actually onside, but I didn't want to celebrate it just in case. I thought I'd just get back into position, whether he gives it or whether he doesn't, I'm in the right place.
You've missed out on an opportunity to celebrate a goal at Old Trafford, haven't you?
And my first Premier League goal, yeah. Obviously, I wore an armband today for Benik. Obviously, his daughter passed away, which is, I would have dedicated the goal to her if I was able to celebrate. But yeah, I just want him to know that everybody is thinking of him, and obviously nothing we can do can help, but a good friend of mine, so thoughts of him.
Lovely touch. Thank you. Well done today.